Tonight on Y News, President Rodrigo Duterte won't order another extension of martial law in Mindanao that expires on December 31st. The Supreme Court allows live media coverage of Maguindanao massacre verdict on December 19. The Philippine National Police arrests 2 suspects in the abduction of 2 Chinese nationals who are victims of kidnap-for-ransom. The 2 Metro Manila water concessionaires, Maynilad and Manila Water, say they will no longer demand payment from the government, arising from arbitral tribunal win. And the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority advises motorists to expect heavy traffic tomorrow as the 2019 SEA Games comes to an end. Good evening. Martial law in Mindanao will expire on December 31 after being in force for nearly 3 years. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte will not extend the martial law in Mindanao when it expires by the end of this year, Malacañang announced today.
His decision is based on the assessment of the security forces, as well as the defense advisors, that the terrorist and extremist rebellion have been weakened as a result of the capture or neutralization of their leaders.
Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana earlier said he recommended a non-extension of martial law in Mindanao after the military and police assured they have already achieved their objective of securing the region. He added that with the present situation, authorities believe that peace and order can be maintained and improved further without military rule. Mindanao has been under martial law since 2017 after the Maute terror group attacked Marawi City. The martial law was initially set for 60 days, but it was extended until the end of 2017, then until the end of 2018, and to the end of 2019. The palace expressed confidence in the capability of the country's security forces in maintaining the peace and security of Mindanao without extending martial law.
The people of Mindanao rest assured that any incipient major threat in Mindanao will be nipped in the bud, even without martial law.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, earlier expressed support for the lifting of martial law in Mindanao, saying it would be good for the country's economy. The DILG also assured that local governments are now more engaged in working with their counterparts in the security sector to carry out peace and security measures to protect the public against possible threat from extremists and communist rebels. Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue, Malacañang.
The Supreme Court, or SC, today allowed live media coverage of the December 19 promulgation of the trial court's decision on the murder cases involving the 2009 Maguindanao massacre, where 58 persons died. 32 of them were media practitioners. SC Assistant Court Administrator and Public Information Office Chief Brian Keith Osaka said the court en banc has approved the request for live broadcast, but only 2 cameras from PTV4 will be allowed inside the courtroom due to space limitations and security concerns. The verdict on the Maguindanao massacre will be handed down by the judge Jocelyn Solis Reyes of the Quezon City Regional Trial Court, Branch 221 at the Quezon City Jail Annex at Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig City at 9 in the morning. Osaka added that his office has been instructed to immediately upload a copy of the decision of the SC website on the FC website once available. He added that journalists would not be allowed inside the courtroom to give space for over 100 accused, the families of the victims, and their counsels.
After the en banc session of the Supreme Court this morning, they granted the request for the live broadcast and coverage of the promulgation of the decision in the case of People vs. Ampatuan, which is pending before Branch 221 of the Regional Trial Court of Quezon City. However, due to space limitations and security concerns, there are certain guidelines that the court has imposed. These are in broad strokes. The actual resolutions and resolution and guidelines will be out possibly by the end of the week.
The National Capital Region Police Office will deploy plainclothes personnel and bomb control police personnel for the security of the promulgation of the Maguindanao massacre case. The NCRPO says there are no reports of threats to the security of the judge and the prosecutors handling the case. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The National Capital Police Region Office, or NCRPO, is now ready to implement the temporary lockdown of Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig City on December 19 for the release of the Maguindanao Massacre court decision. NCRPO Acting Director Police Brigadier General Debold Sinas says this is to avoid the infiltration of any threat group.
They already approved na mag-lockdown kami. Ibig sabihin, yung ibang jail na nandoon, kasi di ba there were 6 jails doon, lahat sila hindi na mag-accept ng bisita muna on the 18th and the 19th.
Sinas adds the NCRPO will deploy plainclothes personnel and explosives and ordnance division personnel. These are aside from 120 Special Action Force troopers and 100 members of the NCRPO Civil Disturbance Management Unit. The NCRPO Acting Director assures the prosecutors and the judge will be secured. No threats to their security are being monitored.
Ngayon pa lang, sinisecurityhan na natin ang judge. After the promulgation, continue pa rin security natin sa kanya until such time that she will feel normal, including yung prosecutor.
No rallies will be allowed both inside and outside Camp Bagong Diwa on the day of the promulgation of judgment of the Maguindanao Massacre. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Philippine National Police Anti-Kidnapping Group arrests a man caught guarding 2 kidnap-for-ransom victims who are both Chinese nationals. The police will also launch a separate investigation into the abduction of a Chinese woman in Makati City last night. Arlene Delgado reports.
Who's that guy? Hey, come in!
This cell phone video shows the rescue operation for 2 Chinese nationals who were kidnapped for ransom victims. Authorities rescued them in an apartment in Las Piñas City. A Filipino identified as Saturnino Matias was arrested during the operation. Matias works as a security guard in a Philippine offshore gaming operator or POGO company where the alleged mastermind known as Michael Chen also works. The kidnapping was discovered after a Chinese national who was also one of the victims sought help. He had been released for paying ransom money worth 30,000 renminbi or equivalent to over 200,000 pesos. Authorities are looking into robbery as one of the reasons behind the abduction.
So, according to sa interview sa dalawang victim natin, naglalakad lang sila sa Along Alabang noong November 26. So, bale 7 days na silang naka-stay dun sa room na yun. So allegedly, may utang tong dalawa na to. Nagnakaw daw sila.
The security guard meanwhile denied the allegations. He said he just followed their client's order to look after the 2 Chinese nationals.
Inosente po ako, wala po akong alam dyan kasi Chinese po ang usapan nila. Nagtatawanan pa sila, hindi ko alam na ganito po pala yun.
The suspect will face kidnapping for ransom with serious illegal detention charges. The PNP-AKG says the incident is in addition to the 6 cases of POGO-related kidnappings reported this year.
Good luck!
Meanwhile, the PNP will launch a separate investigation on the abduction of a Chinese woman in Makati City. The Philippine National Police Anti-Kidnapping Group, or PNP-AKG, says the victim has not filed any formal complaint. According to the Makati City Police, the woman was a POGO employee who likely knew her abductors. Authorities are looking at the motive as debt-related. Arlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Interagency Technical Working Group, or TWG, of the Department of Transportation, or DOTR, is eyeing to extend for 6 months the pilot run of motorcycle ride-hailing services in the country. In a statement issued today, the DOTR said this is to allow the participation of new players in the study of the viability of motorcycles as a safe mode of public transportation. The department said it has heard proposals on November 20 from 6 motorcycle taxi companies, namely City Mover, Joyride, Move It, Eset Go, Sakay, Vroom Go, which are all aspiring to participate in the pilot run. Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board member Antonio Guardiola Jr. and the head of the TWG said the extension is seen as an expansion of the study and giving the riding public a wider choice, and thus push the multiple providers to ensure a higher standard of service. He added that the pilot run extension also aims to provide the TWG more time to widen the scope of their study on appropriate standards and capacities for motorcycles to be considered safe, convenient, and eligible for franchise. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority warns motorists of heavy traffic tomorrow as the 2019 Southeast Asian Games will be coming to a close. Nina Armilio details why.
After almost 2 weeks of competition, the 30th Southeast Asian Games will come to an end. All eyes will now be on the closing ceremony tomorrow at the Athletic Stadium in New Clark City, Tarlac. The closing ceremony is expected to cause heavy traffic along EDSA and other major roads in Metro Manila. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has advised motorists to avoid using EDSA's yellow lanes, as at least 114 buses and other types of vehicles with SEA Games delegates aboard will be using them to travel from the different billeting hotels to the New Clark City Athletic Stadium after lunchtime on Wednesday. The closing ceremony will be held at 5 p.m. The MMDA added that traffic personnel are also deployed in key areas in the metropolis to assist motorists and facilitate the movement of the convoys. Meanwhile, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, is offering bus services to all spectators who wish to watch the closing ceremonies. The LTFRB announced on its Facebook page that buses will be available starting 8 a.m. to ferry passengers from North Terminal in Trinoma Mall to the New Clark Athletic Stadium. The last trip to the venue, according to the LTFRB, will be at 2:30 p.m. Fare for a one-way trip is at 300 pesos per passenger. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I am Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. President Duterte to pursue case against Maynilad and Manila Water even when water concession agreement is put in place. The country's population growth is expected to slow down in 2020, according to the Commission on Population. Manila City government starts clearing operation in the Pasig River. The Bureau of Fire Protection launches its campaign to promote use of whistles instead of firecrackers in celebrating the holiday season this year. And UNTV and Wish 1075 hailed as leaders of innovation at the second Philippine Buyer's Choice Awards. Good evening. Water concessionaires Maynilad and Manila Water will forgo collecting the 11 billion peso arbitral award it won against the Philippine government. Both companies also decide to not implement the water rate increase set in January 2020. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
With President Rodrigo Duterte proclaiming he will not allow the government is demanded to pay around 11 billion pesos of fine after water concessionaires Maynilad and Manila Water won in an international body's ruling in Singapore, Both companies will no longer collect the amount from the government. During the committee hearing of the House Committee on Good Governance and Public Accountability today, the presidents of both companies stated they will no longer push for the decision as respect and willingness to follow the president's orders. Both Maynilad and Manila Water will also defer in implementing the water rate increase, which is set to start by January 2020.
Ipinarating po namin sa MWSS sa aming sulat noong 3 ng Disyembre ang aming hangarin na makipag-ugnayan para magkasundo kung paano maaayos maipatutupad ang pagpaliban sa nasabing na aprobahang taas singil ng tubig.
Maynilad also stated they will push back on implementing the rate increase. Both companies expressed they are also willing to cooperate with the government in reviewing and revising some provisions in the water concession agreement.
Na ang Maynilad po ay bukas at makikipag-cooperate sa gobyerno sa pamamahalaan sa pag-review ng mga gustong provisions ng gobyerno sa kasakulukuyang concession agreement po ng Maynilad.
Both CEOs say they will heed President Duterte's call and work with concerned agencies to improve the water concession agreement. During the committee hearing, lawmakers also requested that government officials from the previous administrations who signed or is connected on the water concession agreement also be invited to the hearing to clarify some issues. The committee is set to continue the hearing tomorrow. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
After Maynilad and Manila Water say they will no longer demand payment from the government, President Rodrigo Duterte seems decided to file charges against those behind the alleged onerous water concession contracts. Meanwhile, Malacañang strongly denies reports that President Rodrigo Duterte wants his allies to take over water distribution. The palace says such allegation is nonsense. Rosalie Cos reports why.
President Rodrigo Duterte is firm on his decision to file suit against those behind the allegedly onerous water concession contracts with Maynilad and Manila Water. This after the two water concessionaires said they will no longer demand the more than 10 billion peso amount of compensation from the government. The chief executive made the statement during the mass oath-taking of the newly promoted uniformed personnel of the Bureau of Fire Protection, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, and the Philippine Coast Guard in Malacañang this afternoon. He even threatens the former officials, personnel and lawyers who crafted the deals if they will refuse to meet him.
Pag sinabi nila, Mayor, irita mo, then I'll file economic sabotage. My case is airtight. Mismo yung contract ng kung iharap mo doon sa anti-graft law, it mirrors. It is a mirror of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Law, Republic Act 1319. Yung talaga alam. Hindi ako negosyante. Hindi, I do not want to talk about money. So in the first place, hindi mo ako masanay. Yung mga abogado niya noon, kung ayaw na nang pupunta dito, I will drag them. Then if you will force my hand, I will throw my last card. Ayaw ninyo? Sige. Gusto ninyo daanin sa... Then I will suspend the state of habeas corpus. At hilain kayo. Widespread economic sabotage.
Various reports have earlier surfaced saying President Duterte allegedly wants his allies to take over the industry of water distribution. But here's what presidential spokesperson and Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo has to say.
That's nonsense. Mas presidente ba? Wala mga alay-alay kay presidente.
The palace mentioned the government's possible takeover of the water distribution sector if no private entity will.
Initially, the government muna, and most likely after that, there will be biddings for a private company to take over.
The water concession contracts were signed in 1997 between the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System or MWSS and Manila Water Services Incorporated and Maynilad Water. But before 1997 or 22 years ago, the government was in charge of the water services, though their quality were found to be not satisfactory. At that time, not many investors were interested in investing billions of pesos to improve the water services. Manila Water and Maynilad won the concessions. Rosa Licoz, UNTV, News and Rescue, Malacañang.
Some senators agree with the move to review the water concession deals between the government and water concessionaires Maynilad and Manila Water. Nel Maribuhok explains why.
Senator Christopher Bongo believes that some provisions in the concession agreement with Maynilad and Manila Water are disadvantageous to the government. According to the senator, Manila Water has failed to fulfill its obligations stated in the contract, such as providing wastewater treatment facilities in Metro Manila.
Manila Water has yet to comply with its contractual obligation to provide for sewerage and wastewater treatment facilities in Metro Manila, which clearly constitutes a breach of concession agreement.
Senator Cynthia Villar, meanwhile, agreed with the move to review the concession agreements. In particular is the provision on the water rate increase.
Yung sinasabi na we have no control over the water concessionaire, and then if the government won't agree to the price increase sa mga tao, then the government will have to pay. Dapat pinag-uusapan yung rate increase, di ba? Gina-justify mo yung rate increase.
Senator Manny Pacquiao meanwhile files a resolution seeking to investigate what has been described as onerous concession deals.
Ang ating pag-imbestiga sa mga water concessionaires ay umpisa lamang ng mas mahabang laban, Mr. President.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Philippine population next year may be lower compared with what has been previously projected by the government. Based on the Commission on Population study, a large percentage of Filipinos prefer to live in Metro Manila and its neighboring provinces. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
The Philippine population in 2020 is projected to reach 108.7 million. The Commission on Population, or POPCOM, says the present population growth rate is 1.5%, while it was 1.7% before. One of the reasons for this lower growth rate, POPCOM sees, is the living status of Filipinos. From an average of 4 children before, couples now prefer having 2 to 3 children only.
Yung mga batang nagsisimula ng pamilya, minimum wage. So talagang napipilitan silang pag-aralan ang sitwasyon nila at pinipili nila talaga na magkaroon lang ng bilang ng anak na kaya nilang suportahan.
As for the workforce in the country, POPCOM says it remains to be sufficient at 69 million. The problem, however, is that 39% of the Philippines' total population choose to stay in Metro Manila, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon.
Doon nagpupuntahan dahil may opportunity ng trabaho, hindi ganun kahirap ang buhay.
According to POPCOM, the government's programs that help boost economy, such as Build, 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 will benefit the other regions a lot. Based on statistics, there are some 10 million senior citizens in the country. For POPCOM, the national government as well as the local government units must implement programs for the older population. Aside from a small amount of pension, there aren't many opportunities for senior citizens.
Nakita namin, well-educated ang older population natin. May kaalaman, may wisdom. Dapat itap ng gobyerno yan.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Bureau of Fire Protection, or BFP, campaigns for the use of whistle instead of firecrackers in celebrating the holiday season this year. Students who witnessed today's launching of the campaign expressed their support and optimism on the BFP's objective. Let's find out why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
The government has been relentless in its battle against firecracker and pyrotechnic-related fire incidents and injuries across the country. Laws that regulate the manufacture, selling, distribution, and use of firecrackers were already set in place to avoid them. Although the number of fire incidents dropped by more than 50% in the last 5 years, the Bureau of Fire Protection, or BFP, recorded 22 fire incidents related to firecrackers. And with the forthcoming holiday season, government agencies once again campaign against its use. Today, the BFP launched Oplan Paalala Iwas Paputok Campaign 2019 with more than 1,000 students of San Francisco High School in Quezon City. The Bureau encourages the use of whistles as replacement to firecrackers.
Magagamit ito ng mga bata para tumimo sa kanilang kaisipan. Ang magandang gamit nito, hindi lamang sa pagpapaingay, kung hindi magagamit ito sa panahon ng mga sakuna.
The campaign gained support from students who expressed optimism and learned the dangers posed by the use of firecrackers.
Ito po ay delikado sa atin, lalo na po sa ating mga bata. At ito po ay pwede mag-cause ng pagputol ng body parts po natin.
Natutunan din po namin na kapag po New Year, pito na lang po yung gamitin or magpaingay po ng iba pang bagay kaysa po gumamit ng fireworks kasi po masyadong delikado.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Manila City government began clearing the Pasig River of obstructions today. It targets to make the city's waterways available to the public as an alternative mode of transportation. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno says he suggests to revoke the business permits of the owners of the barges abandoned in the Pasig River area. Bernard Dadis reports why.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources directs all concerned government agencies through a memorandum order dated December 9, 2019 to clear the Pasig River from all kinds of obstructions. A meeting was held this morning at the Manila City Hall to discuss effective ways to clean the Pasig River. DNR Secretary Roy Simatu, Transportation Secretary Arthur Togade, Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Joel Garcia, Interior and Local Government Undersecretary Epemaco Densing III, Maritime Industry Authority OIC Administrator Vice Admiral Narciso Bingson Jr., Philippine Ports Authority General Manager J. Daniel Santiago, and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso were present at today's meeting. The officials led the commencement of the Pasig River clearing operations immediately after the conference. During their inspections, the officials found not only eyesores but also huge obstructions like barges that had been staying in the area for quite a long while. Some are old and rusty, while others have shanties in them. Mayor Dumagoso suggested to revoke the business permits of the owner of the barge, which seems to be abandoned already. Using acetylene, Mayor Isko cut the chains of the barges confiscated by the Manila City government.
See, here you can see na ang pamahalaan ay talagang seryoso na linisin ang lungsod ng Maynila, hindi lang naman sa kalsada, pati sa waterways. Second, nagpapasalamat kami sapagkat mayu-utilize na ng taong bayan as a alternative mode of public transportation ang waterways.
The Manila City Mayor added he will implement the clearing operations on illegal structures within the easement zone of the Pasig River in his jurisdiction next. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Some commuters aim to experience using water taxis in the Pasig River like those used in other countries. This as the riding public hope for solutions to the worsening traffic problems, especially in the metro. Aiko Miguel details why.
A lot of Filipinos have grown wary of the never-ending traffic woes in the country, especially in Metro Manila. What commuters need right now are solutions to the worsening traffic situation. And during the pilot testing of ferry boats in the Pasig River, what the public saw is development. Some commuters are thrilled to try this new mode of transportation. They aim to see water taxis similar to those used in other countries. We had a little chat with Edna Morgan and Maria Cowart, who we caught waiting to board a ferry boat. The two sisters, who are Balikbayans, have recently visited Venice, Italy. They say they are confident the Philippines can sustain this kind of transportation.
At least nag-i-improve ang ating Pilipinas na nawawala ang mga traffic, medyo malilimit ang mga traffic at yung time na consume mo is really very, very significant sa atin, kasi tayo mabiyahe masyado, lalo na kami senior citizen.
I mean, it would be nice maingay yung mga tourist. I mean, it is kasi lalo na kami galing ng Vegas, and it would be nice makita yung ibang places mula sa point to point, so it would be helpful.
The Mishona couple from Bicol boarded the river ferry boat. Ride is free until January 31 next year, so they grabbed the opportunity to visit the destinations of the ferry boat. They hope this would be a permanent mode of transportation in the country.
Nagbabakasyon lang kami dito sa Manila, 8 araw. Narinig ko sa Facebook kung sa na mayroong free ride. Subukan na yung sumakay.
Mr. and Mrs. Placena headed to Quezon Bridge Ferry Station to try to travel using the river ferry.
Dito, mas mabilis pa dito. Walang traffic, hindi ba? Okay yan. Maganda yung programa na yan. Sana nga magtagumpay.
Maganda. Kasi para ka pang nalilibang sa pagdaan ng ganyan. Tapos walang traffic. Yun ang importante.
It is still on pilot testing, so the ferry boats in the stations have no fixed schedule. This ferry taxi is similar to what Kuya Daniel Razon tried riding in Venice, Italy. Kuya Daniel proposes it would be great to have water taxi in the Philippines to help alleviate the traffic problem in EDSA.
Hindi naman siguro malayo, baka sakali sa mga darating na hinaharap, maiwan pa natin sa mga anak natin, sa apo natin, na ang Ilog Pasig ay maging kagaya nito dito sa Venice at magkakitaan ng mga Pilipino. Napakarami natin mga bodies of water, isla na siguro pwedeng mapakinabangan. Ito ang tubig nila dito. Hindi, makikita mo, hindi mabaho, hindi umaamoy. So yung mga turista, nagagamit nila. Napagkakakitaan naman ng mga locals dito. Yung mga old buildings na to na ginawa nilang tourist attraction. At wala kang maamoy na foul odor na nanggagaling doon sa water. Okay pa rin.
The government hopes for support and patronage from the riding public with the development of the Pasig River ferry service. Its relaunching comes with a project to rehabilitate the Pasig River with help from various government agencies and local government units. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
UNTV and Wish 1075 will end the year 2019 with a bang. Mirasola Bugadil will tell us why.
The #1 innovative news and public service network, UNTV and Wish 107.5.
Just a few weeks before the year 2019 ends, UNTV and Wish 107.5 received another commendation. UNTV was hailed as the #1 innovative news and public service network at the 2nd Philippine Buyer's Choice and Outstanding Achievers Awards held on Saturday in Pasay City. While Wish 107.5 was chosen as the most innovative FM radio station. According to the award-giving body, UNTV and Wish FM are recognized for excellence in products and service quality, innovative marketing and business practice, public awareness and opinion, and brand recall.
UNTV is very much qualified on this award. Transparency, and at the same time, when it comes to reporting, napakaganda rin.
We wish to thank everyone, all right, for the support and of course, having Kuya Daniel Razon at the helm, our president and our CEO, we will have more innovations, making not just Wish 1075, UNTV, BMPI, even Radio La Verdad, very impressive and enticing for the media buyers, all right, and the advertisers.
Thank you so much sa love and support nyo. It means a lot. It makes us work harder and do better. And of course, to God be the glory.
The awardees were chosen by the buyers or customers through online voting and independent market research and a survey organized by the PCEMI Data Research Team. UNTV is widely known for pioneering the use of drone in news gathering, dubbed as drone journalism. And its advocacy, tulong muna bago balita, or putting priority in helping others over news gathering. Wish 1075 has gained popularity through its many innovations in the music industry. The iconic Wish Bus is a big hit not only in Metro Manila and the provinces, but also abroad. That's why Wish 1075's YouTube channel remains to be the #1 FM YouTube channel in the country, boasting 7.28 million subscribers and counting, and more than 2.6 billion accumulated views.
To God be the glory! Thank you so much, everyone!
Mirasol Abugadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And to complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. One of the bereaved families of the Maguindanao massacre victims is pleased with the court's permission to have a live coverage of the promulgation of judgment on the case on December 19. Vincent Arboleda tells us why.
Erlene Umpad went emotional while her son was taking a video of her.
Kita ko yung bata, yung ang hilig niya. Parang ang hilig na din ng ama niya. Kupukat pati sa galaw, sa pananalita. Kaya yung sa akin lang sa likod, sa likuran, iiyak ako sa gabi. Hindi man dapat isipin, pero usa po eh.
Erlene says her late husband wanted his son to also possess his talent as a cameraman.
Pangarap talaga niya maging yung anak niya nasa UNTV. Kasi gusto niya makasama daw ni Kuya yung bata. Dadalhin daw niya sa UNTV sa Manila. Yun ang lagi niyang paglaki mo, ikaw ang magdadala nitong kamera na ito.
10-year-old Japhet is the son of Macdelbert Mac Ariola, a UNTV cameraman who was among the victims of the Ampatuan Maguindanao massacre 10 years ago. Japhet was only 13 days old when the infamous crime took place.
Ano bang gusto mo maging paglaki?
Hindi ko po alam. Tumulong po. Sa gawain bayo. Tapos po tumulong din sa pag-aalaga ng hayop po.
Erlene added, there are instances when Japhet's birthday comes and she has nothing to give him. What's more painful, however, are the memories left by the Ampatuan massacre. Erlene hopes the judgment on the Maguindanao massacre would be the best present for his son.
Ang pangarap ko lang naman sa anak ko na sana hindi na niya maranasan yung nangyari na kami pang nakikipaglaban, na maratnan niya na yung paglaki niya, na siya pa yung pupunta sa korte, maghihingi ng hustisya.
She is pleased that the live coverage of the promulgation of the judgment was approved.
Sa daming taong pinatay nila, malaman ng lahat kung ano yung ginawa sa kanila, yung ginawa ng mga pangyarihang tao doon sa Maguindanao, sa mga angkan nila, malaman nila kung gaano kasama yung mga ampatuan na yan. At malaman din ng mga ibang pamilya na hindi man makapunta ng Manila, hindi kasi sapat yung kwento namin na ganyan.
The families of the Maguindanao massacre victims hope justice would be served 1 decade after. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue.
Meanwhile, the proposed excise tax on single-use plastic bags has been approved at the House committee level. This aims to help the severe problem on the plastic pollution. Dante Amento tells us why.
The House Committee on Ways and Means approved today House Bill 178, or the Single-Use Plastic Bag Tax Act. It aims to impose a 20 pesos excise tax per kilogram of single-use plastic bags. This amount is 10 pesos more than the original proposal of 10 pesos. Committee on Ways and Means Chairman Congressman Joe Salceda stressed this doesn't mean they want to ban the use of plastic bags. Residents must learn to recycle plastics to prevent the worsening environmental pollution caused by plastics.
Pero pambawi lang nung dysfunctional effect nila sa pollution tsaka sa environmental correction, remediation. Basically po, ang lahat ng pera to mapupunta sa ecological solid waste management ng mga LGUs.
Some plastic manufacturers and even owners of big businesses favor the proposal.
No, walang kapalit ang plastic bags in terms of practicality. It's the improper disposal that's a problem, which is mindset and which is, behavioral, which we have to correct.
Data from the Global Alliance Incinerator Alternatives show that 48 million plastic bags are used in the country every day. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, on the other hand, wants to impose excise tax not just on single-use plastic bags.
Basically, we would be inclined of taxing more on residuals rather than plastics.
Before the holiday break, the substitute bill and the final report will be submitted to the House Committee on Rules. Those will include a collection process to be headed by the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, William. The number of people unaccounted for following the eruption on White Island in New Zealand is said to be in double figures, but officials have said they do not believe any of them survived. Elsie Marcos details why.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has said there were no signs of life on White Island following a volcanic eruption. She said the focus was now on recovery and to return loved ones once the island was safe. 13 people are presumed to have died, 5 of those are confirmed dead, and 8 are still missing on the island. The volcano erupted on Monday as tourists were visiting the popular attraction. 34 people survived, with most of them still receiving treatment in hospital. Among those hit by the eruption are people from New Zealand, Australia, Germany, China, Malaysia, the US and the UK, according to police.
The scale of this tragedy is devastating. Police and Defence Force personnel have undertaken a number of aerial reconnaissance flights over the island since the eruption. However, no signs of life have been detected. Our hearts go out to the families of those who are injured, missing or deceased.
White Island, also known by the indigenous Maori name Whakaari, is New Zealand's most active cone volcano, and about 70% of the volcano is under the sea. 12 people were killed on the island in 1914 when it was being mined for sulfur. Elsie Marcos, UNTV News and Rescue, New Zealand.
The legal team of the Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives on Monday presented what it considers to be the ABCs of the impeachment case against President Donald Trump. Mirasola Bocadilla reports.
Abuse of power, betraying the national interest, and election corruption. These alleged actions by U.S. President Donald Trump, according to Democratic legal experts, constitute sufficient reason to draft the so-called articles of impeachment against the president. That is, to formally accuse him of committing high crimes and misdemeanors that may result in his removal from office. The lawyer for the Democrats, Daniel Goldman, said in his closing statement at the Monday's House Judiciary Committee hearing that Trump directed a scheme to pressure Ukraine into opening 2 investigations that would benefit his 2020 re-election campaign, not the U.S. national interest.
Despite the public discovery of this scheme, which prompted the president to release the aid, he has not given up. He and his agents continue to solicit Ukrainian interference in our election, causing an imminent threat to our elections and our national security.
Meanwhile, in the House hearings, Republican lawyer Stephen Castor argued that the evidence against Trump so far was not sufficient to require impeachment and that Zelensky had publicly stated that he did not feel pressured by Trump, among other things. Castor said that no clear evidence exists that Trump acted with malicious intentions in asking Zelensky to launch the probe into the Bidens.
This impeachment would stand out among modern impeachments as the shortest proceeding with the thinnest evidentiary record and the narrowest grounds ever used to impeach a president.
GOP lawmakers criticized the congressional investigation mounted by Democrats as being unfair and partisan, with the aim of damaging Trump's image before the 2020 election. Once the impeachment charges against the president are drafted and receive the approval of the House Judiciary Committee, controlled by the Democrats, the whole House will vote on them, and they are expected to pass, given the Democrats' 235 to 199 majority over the GOP there. No date has yet been set for that vote, but all indications are that it will be held before the end of the year. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Remnants of plastic waste were found by researchers at the bottom of the world's deepest ocean. Details in this report.
The Mariana Trench, the deepest point on planet Earth at 11 kilometers below sea level, is an inhospitable place and almost inaccessible to humanity. But it's not to the garbage left by humans. Over 3 decades, researchers from the Japan Agency for Marine, Earth Science and Technology, or JAMSTEC, have identified, photographed, and recorded some of the waste generated by human activity that has ended in the deepest folds of the Pacific Ocean. In the Challenger Deep, the deepest part of the trench at over 10,000 meters deep, scientists found remnants of plastic bags and a wooden plank. Closer to the surface, but still several kilometers below sea level, they discovered objects such as slippers, a shoe, a sports backpack, several car wheels, a toy fire engine, and a mannequin's head. Organisms were found to have incorporated plastics in their habitats, thus endangering their ecosystems. JAMTEC's goal initially was to study the geology of living beings in that ecosystem. Scientists estimate that 45 million tons of plastic ended up in the ocean, but just under 1% have been found.
Once the plastic debris or plastic or other debris entered into the ocean and break into the small particle, it's impossible to collect it. So we cannot trace to stop the increase of the plastic pollution in the ocean. But it's really difficult to reduce from this point. So that what I have to do, we have to do is just to stop, adding it.
Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the world. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Members Church of God International, or MCGI, visits a family affected by Typhoon Tisoy in Legazpi City to give some grocery items that can last for several days. This small act of kindness has restored the hope almost lost by one of the displaced typhoon survivors. Joanne Nano has this story.
Typhoon Tisoy has left thousands of families in Bicol region homeless. Properties vanished, houses destroyed. Albay province was not spared by the calamity. Richie Barrientos is among the many residents of Legazpi City who have been left with nothing more than a house with damaged roofs and walls. And by looking at what remains inside the house, one would almost give up restoring it.
Parang sa loob ko po nawalan ako ng pag-asa. Sabi ko, mahirap na nga kami, tapos ganito pa yung bahay namin. Parang mahirap po, kasi hindi naman kami yung na sa isang araw, alam mo na may pagkain ka na. Hinahanap pa po ng asawa ko yung pagkain namin, yung pambili ng pagkain namin.
Richie's husband drives a tricycle to earn a living for their family. But her husband has not been able to work these days since he has to fix their house so they can have at least good roof over their heads. Because of this, they have no money for food. The family is left with no other choice but to ask help from neighbors.
Umiyak talaga ako. Napapagod na ako. Parang nakakapagod na, sabi ko. Sabi ko sa asawa ko, ano natin, parang ayoko na. Sabi ko, gusto ko na tumalon na lang sa dagat. Gusto ko na lang mawala na para di ko na ito makita.
To help reach his family, Members Church of God International Legazpi City Chapter gave them several grocery items. Richie was grateful to receive that simple gift as this would help her feed her 3 children for even a few days. In spite of devastation, Richie remains to be positive and hopeful in life as she realizes there are people always ready to extend their helping hands for those in need.
Nandito po kayo. Kami ang napili nyo. Parang lang po, nakakabalik ng pag-asa na talaga palang may mga taong gagawin ng Diyos na instrumento para matulungan po kami na kailangan. Po, habang may buhay, totoo po pala yung habang may pag-asa. Huwag lang tayong mawawala ng pag-asa, magdasal lang.
Joanaro, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news this December 10, 2019. On behalf of Alex Baltazar and Angelo Castro III, I am William Theo. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant sound bites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Particular role of Duterte is not extending martial law. It will expire on December 31st, 2019. His decision is based on the assessment of the security forces, as well as the defense advisors, that the terrorist and extremist rebellion have been weakened as a result of the capture or neutralization of their leaders.
Sa daming taong pinatay nila, malaman ng lahat kung ano yung ginawa sa kanila, yung ginawa ng mga kapangyarihang tao doon sa Maguindanao, sa mga angkan nila, malaman nila kung gaano kasama yung mga ampatuan na yan. At malaman din ng mga ibang pamilya na hindi man makapunta ng Manila, hindi kasi sapat yung kwento namin na ganyan.
My case is airtight. Mismo yung contract po, kung iharap po doon sa anti-graft law, it is a mirror of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Law, Republic Act 1390.
Pambawi lang nung dysfunctional effect nila sa pollution tsaka sa environmental correction, remediation. Basically po, ang lahat ng pera to mapupunta sa ecological solid waste management ng mga LGUs.
Habang may buhay, totoo po pala yung habang may pag-asa. Huwag lang tayong mawawala ng pag-asa, magdasal lang.